नमस्कार दोस्तों, मैं अमिताभ और आप मेरे साथ देख रहे हैं एड टॉक्स विद अमिताभ। और जैसा कि हमने आपसे वायदा किया है, इस पूरी जर्नी में एड टॉक्स में लॉकडाउन के दिनों में इन आवर स्टेइंग पॉजिटिव सीरीज वी आर गोइंग टू गेट यू इंट्रोड्यूस टू अमेजिंग पर्सनालिटीज। हम आपको रूबरू कराएंगे ऐसी शख्सियत से जिन्होंने समाज में, एजुकेशन स्पेस में इम्पैक्ट क्रिएट किया है। और ऐसी ही एक शख्सियत हमारे बीच में है, straight from Mumbai, in our virtual studios, waiting to get connected to you. And I'm talking about none other than Fatema Agarkar. Friends, Fatema Agarkar has a very unique distinction of being, I would say, a serial entrepreneur. आज से 18-20 साल पहले, when she took up a vision, she completed her management degree, and being a person from the background of commerce and accounts, she went into the banking sector, and after a while she felt that her calling is elsewhere, and education is where she wanted to be. And then she went on to initiate more than 3 startups for herself in the edu space itself. And with all these initiatives in this journey of last so many years has ultimately culminated into Agarkar Centre for Excellence and the base office at Mumbai. And she is catering to very, very intriguing and interesting area of intervention. That is blending education, studies, and sports together. And she's majorly working in the curriculum design, and they're part of various schooling process where sports is part of the curriculum, and they are partnering in designing the curriculum. So a lot of interesting takeaways will be there from Fatema Agarkar about parenting, about education, about startup. In all the dimensions, we are going to try and explore her life and times and experience. So without any further delay, she's waiting for us in our virtual studio of the School Times. Let me invite her to be with all of you right away. Namaskar, Fatima ji. Welcome to Ed Talks with Amitabh at the School Times.
Thank you so much, Amitabh. It's actually quite an honor to be interviewed by a fellow entrepreneur, and your journey's been incredible. So it's my pleasure.
I think the feeling is absolutely mutual, and I think today the way we are on a common platform, it can also be an experience for a lot of people, that two people working in the same space can have a healthy, friendly relationship and can be together with each other as well. So having
and love each other.
Yeah, you said something. I'm sorry.
I said learn each other.
Absolutely. So, it's really been intriguing the way you have come up in our pre-broadcast interaction while you mentioned, I asked you about your question about your journey, and I could see that you're surrounded by a lot of sports persons all around you. So I would like to know about how you got into blending this education sport. But before that, as we are calling this our Staying Positive COVID-19 series, the purpose is to provide a positive platform so that people can have constructive time spent and their mind can be nurtured and more positive nutrition can be given to it. I would like to know that Bombay and Delhi have been two places who have been talked about as being, in India, quite badly affected by the COVID. So how is it that you people are coping up there in Bombay in your lifestyles?
Amitabh, as you would have known and the whole world knows, Mumbai is the highest as far as cases are concerned.
Right.
The area that we live in particular, is not under complete, it's on a red zone, but yes, we do have restrictions. I think you beautifully summed it up, Amitabh, that every challenge that presents itself has huge amounts of opportunities. Got to get a glass, half full as well. And then, is there something that you can do with it? So I call it the Mumbai spirit, the famous Mumbaikar spirit. We go on, we move on, taking each be very grateful.
Right.
We have our family with us, my husband, my son, and I, and we have our Didi at home as well. Poor thing, she can't go home, and she was already leave in April. So it's more about counseling her and making sure she gets home
Right,
whenever she gets the opportunity. But you take each day as it comes. Work keeps us busy.
right,
I'm a sportsman's wife, a sportsman's mother. They are like two caged animals because our gym, all common areas are restricted at the moment. But you find ways in the house to do that.
right,
It's remarkable how much creativity we have as individuals. We just
right.
never used it before COVID-19. So here's an opportunity for all of us. We're grateful. We're grateful to be alive and healthy and at home, safe.
Right. Knowing your husband, Ajit Bhai, ladies and gentlemen, when she said my sportsman husband, she's talking about the ace, bowler and the rookie in Indian cricket team, Ajit Agarkar. You talked about you are in your own space, very busy and keep yourself, and your husband also is a very, very involved person. Now, both of you have each other and your child all by yourself, not going anywhere outside. The hustle bustle is not there. So, how has it brought a change in your life context?
Um, Ajit's so used to traveling, and because of work, I'm used to traveling. I must say, my son loves the fact that both his parents are at home.
Right,
We have different parenting styles. We're now learning to respect each one's parenting style and learning to be patient.
right.
We're talking a lot more. Honestly, I keep saying this, and I might sound like a broken record, but I'm loving the fact that I have the opportunity to spend every waking minute
Right.
with my two boys. We have a lot of fun. We laugh. We're normal people. We argue, we disagree, but we also know that this is all we have, so we get over it pretty quickly. And I think that's created different ways of us learning about each other. And we tend to laugh a lot. Yes, television, Netflix is a great part where we all come together. I have two boys, no chick flicks. I do have to watch serious entertainment in that sense,
Okay.
but I love sport,
Okay.
I love action, and I love drama. So it works for me.
That's this brings me to a question that this you got into the edu space and in the educational ventures because you felt that is your calling, but then your interest in sports, is it after the marriage to a sports person that you got interested in it, or you had your own direct interest in sports as well?
Yeah. So I was one of those kids that hated sports days
Okay.
because I was chubby. I wasn't an athlete by any stretch of imagination. I was better off reading and writing. But I'm a sportsman's daughter, sportsman's sister. My brothers played for Ranji Trophy. My dad at 60 was playing club cricket, which
At
is why
60.
at 60, because they ran short of a fielder and he decided only he could wicket keep.
Right.
He went to injury after that, but so sports has been part of my life, especially cricket. Some of my best friends have been cricketers. But I have to say, I actually introduced Ajit to Formula One.
Right.
So, while of course I've learned a lot more about cricket
Right.
because of him,
Right.
I've always been someone who backs for sport. I just love the fact that people could do it. I couldn't. So I'm
Right.
living my dream with Ajit and my son now.
Right. So, as an entrepreneur, when you started off different ventures that you have started, you had your own startups as well, and startup has been a buzzword lately in our entire country, and even there were a lot of government impetus were there to facilitate startups. Make in India was one of the movements that we had. So. I would like through you as someone who has worked on startups and gradually maneuvered the journey towards growth and success. Uh, what does it take to start up in the in edu space?
Amitabh, actually, your question couldn't come at the right time because ACE, as far as the education vertical, was actually born with lockdown.
Right,
So, 1st of April is when we officially launched and we went under lockdown.
right,
I think the fact that you're in the entrepreneurial space, when
right,
you decide to take that journey, that plunge, you thought through of the consequences. It is going to be gestation. There is some amount of time. You always factor in contingencies.
Right.
You actually that rainy day a lot more than when you are a professional working for someone.
Right.
Because you have so many things to think about, right? Not just your profitability, but basically where the business is coming from, your team, how do you motivate them, retail. You always think of 5 scenarios.
Right.
I think that's what MBA teaches you, how to plan for contingencies. I also think that this is therefore a huge opportunity.
Right.
As edupreneurs, we've been talking about technology being a huge component. And I
Right.
did say it, my last 18 years, I've been talking about technology.
Right.
COVID-19 has taught us today that we don't have to be face to face. We were resisting it as the education space for a lot. The tech companies were critical of this.
Absolutely.
COVID-19 has happened, and suddenly every tech company is only smiling
Right.
and only increasing bandwidth. But what entrepreneurs have also done is identify their gaps.
Right.
Some are playing the bridging role, so you may have to rethink your product design or your service design.
Right.
But this is a great time to do it. And honestly, some who've gone back to the board have recognized that we were chasing the wrong shadow.
Right.
We should have informed this because that will be a better revenue model for us. It's small, but it has potential to lead to more. We ignored it because it took more effort.
Right.
Now, the luxury of time, you get together and actually have that business plan, which most entrepreneurs are guilty of not having.
Okay.
I know I have that advantage now.
Right.
Veteran of 3 startups, I know what mistakes I have made. Huge lessons there. My advice to all entrepreneurs is this is actually the golden opportunity. You go back to the drawing board, design thinking, rethink. You have to find gaps and you'll be able to modify that. Yes, technology will roll, so rethink your model in that sense. I've had people who sell alcohol who are now selling sanitizers.
Right.
So adaptability is the order of the day. So guys, this is innovation. This is your entrepreneurial spirit.
This is education, and this is your entrepreneurial spirit. And I would really like to emphasize further, ladies and gentlemen who are listening to this show right now or will be viewing the recording at a later stage of time on our page. I would like to emphasize that Fatema Agarkar has worked on different ventures and as a startup and given it a shape and a success. And gradually, what she's saying that lockdown has given an opportunity, an umbrella has been created where all her earlier ventures have now come under Agarkar Centre of Excellence because she felt providing an umbrella to all the alternative initiatives that she has taken separately. So, your baby steps as a startup can lead to a bigger umbrella at times to come. And what a beautiful perspective, and that is all about attitude. And friends, I would like to emphasize, if you are wanting to be an entrepreneur and edupreneur, it is also about your attitude, the way you look at things. And right now, Fatima just now said that today when everyone is looking with the whole scenario with pessimism. She says that it is a golden opportunity. It is giving a perspective. In fact, it is reminding me of some management jargon stories that we at times hear or share during our workshops and interactions. That there was a marketing person employed and sent to a remote rural area, and the company used to make the slippers, the chappals. और जब दे एम्प्लॉयड फ्यू पीपल, एक को भेजा तो वहां पर उन्होंने जाकर के बोला कि भाई आपको अगर मुझे नौकरी से निकालना था तो आप ऐसे ही बोल देते, आपने ऐसी जगह क्यों भेजा जहाँ की कोई भी चप्पल ही नहीं पहनता, लोग नंगे पैर घूमते हैं और वहां पे आप चप्पल बेचने की बात कर रहे हो. The HR head said, "You're right, come back, don't worry." On the other, the very next time they sent another person recruited freshly. He went to the same location और वहां पे जाके उन्होंने देखा कि वहां तो कोई चप्पलें नहीं पहनता है. Immediately called up his HR head and said, "Hey sir, please get the production ready because there is a tremendous opportunity क्योंकि यहाँ पर तो किसी के पास चप्पल ही नहीं है और कोई competition भी नहीं है." And I think that is the perspective that you are living and sharing right now in these lockdown days. And friends, true to what she said, and I would like to share that in this venture of ours, the School Times web channel, this Ed Talks with Amitabh was scheduled. The shoots were scheduled to be in studio settings before the lockdown, end of the March and April, so that if we would have been doing that, probably we would have been limited to resource in one city, two city, or in one state. Probably we would not have been able to go to begin with at this stage. But the lockdown has made us innovate and think. And Fatima didn't have to think to come to Mumbai, because it only took Mumbai to our studio. It only took us seconds to be here. So I think there's always opportunity. In fact, I would also like to share, Fatima, that in our consultancy side and the training side, of course, we are doing a lot of webinars and otherwise. But in the consultancy side, we were earlier used to giving our institutions which we've set up or we are managing a day in a month or a day in 2 months. At our personal visit, of course, team would go. Now we are doing 4 meetings in a month. And so we are giving more times, and everyone is becoming so very comfortable because we don't have to actually travel to the space. So it's easy to connect with people. So in fact, we are saying it is social distancing. I think the distances have been reduced due to this lockdown because of the virtual reality that we are living.
Yeah. I mean, when I read about Tata Consulting and what they've decided, work from home, it was Tata Communications. Tata companies as a group endorse sport. They recognize that that is an important aspect of life, and they inspire others by actually creating more opportunities. I love what they've said. Listen, let's bring down our admin costs. Let's bring down the overheads so that we can retain our people, we can pay them well, we can skill them, and we can move our economy forward. And I think we're all part of that ecosystem, Amitabh.
I think very much so, very much, and very aptly put. And before we go further, I would like to encourage. We've seen people have started coming in. Comments are already started being put up. With your permission, I would like to encourage our viewers to feel free to put up their queries and inquiries in the chat box at any point of time. In between our discussion, while we're exploring the experience that Fatima has in as a person, as an individual, and as a professional, we will also take your questions in between. We've got a few already coming up. I can see that DP Vishwa has given a comment. Neha has put up a query. It seems we have, even we, all right, we have, let us take one right now. I think when we are talking about ACE and psychology, sports, and education comes together, what an iconic combination. I think Neha has put in that our background of psychology and education, your forte of psychology and education and sports, it's all coming together on a single platform. I would like to ask you right at this point of time, because we talked about your Agarkar Centre for Excellence. How we are part of various institutions where we are associating, the institutions are associating with various cricketers and other sports person in different fields in badminton or tennis, and there are a lot of academies have come up, and they are also partnering their venture with the institutions. How is Agarkar Centre for Excellence also a body similar to that, or it has a different vision altogether?
The beauty of working with so many brands and so many schools, give an opportunity to understand different models. What's the difference really for us at ACE, for Ajit and I, is the fact that we have a contribution. Where we come from that space of saying that I'm personally involved, we will not take that project forward, which means insurance quality, picking the right coaches, getting into the curriculum. So basically, our 3 formats, which means curriculum, natural extension to an after school hours academy, which is more
Right.
performance based. So
Right.
from skill to performance, and
Right.
something very unique which combines education and sport, which is to say, a lot of children in the middle school now want to take sports seriously.
Right.
But our Indian system, Amitabh, you'll agree with me, doesn't give too many options to these students. You can't be in school or reaching home at 4:30, some sort of
Absolutely.
tuition, know whether parents say they aren't, but they are.
Right.
Then there's homework. How can a child train?
Right.
For Ajit, it was very important when he India was 20. But he spent 10 years before that, thanks to an environment that allowed him to play, to be
Right.
skilled.
Right.
Those were easier times.
Right.
You understand how commute has been
It's a
difficult
very
in the
different
last 4 years.
space altogether.
Yeah. Therefore, this is the entrepreneurial mind saying, why don't we find a solution? So the
Right.
solution in the middle school when children are already physically developed, have the balance,
Right.
there's there, those who want to pursue it can therefore actually be in school for less number of hours,
Right.
focus on fitness, skill development, and performance, but still graduate with the
Right.
same amount of foundation.
Right.
Uh, and this can only happen if someone allows them to do it in a manner that's scientific.
Okay.
You'll have one, for 20 hours and do it. That's one.
Right.
We're talking about a billion people. And if
Right.
we have to create
Right.
structure, which is the Prime Minister's vision, honestly,
Right.
as a proud Indian, it bothers me that our contingent is the lowest
Right.
whenever we compete on a world forum, except for cricket. So, what can we therefore do? So, this say that there are specialist divisions that can come in,
Right.
thanks to education background and Ajit's sports background.
Right.
We can actually help promoters create those opportunities. Yes, and the difference is being involved with parents.
Right.
I think you'll appreciate this, Amitabh. Psychology for a sportsman is critical. For a human being,
It
but
is
much
very,
more
very
when you
critical.
compete. It takes so it's very important, therefore, to be orienting parents.
Right.
I can give you a personal example, Amitabh. My own child, I think, very gifted, but perhaps may not go down that competitive ladder
Right.
because of certain skill sets or attitudes that he may desire.
Right.
It's best I accept it. Then in my head, think that he is going to be the next Bumrah.
Right. Right.
You know,
Right.
talent is great. You need talent, attitude, commitment, discipline. There's a whole lot.
Right. Absolutely.
It's not one. And I think that's important. So Ajit wants to talk to parents that it doesn't matter whether your child doesn't play for India, but what you've given him is lifestyle. You've given
So,
him fitness.
so in Agarkar Center for Excellence, it is not that it is Ajit Bhai giving his celebrity name to it. He's personally involved and directly connecting with the parents.
Yes.
I think that is going to make a huge difference. In fact, this brings me to because there are a lot of viewers on our page who are youngsters and students who aspire to be in cricket or in cricket. Of course, is more a religion in India than a sports, the way many people say it. So there, everyone who comes into sports or who's good with sports, wanting to play, not everyone makes a livelihood out of it. Is not unable to make a career out of it. But then everyone believes when one gets into it that probably I am the one. And at times there are some people out of many they make a they make a name, but remaining they face a lot of challenges. So what being belonging to the same family background and working in that space, what advice you would give to youngsters who are wanting, there's always a debate that sports and education is against each other. If you're good in sport, you cannot be good in education, or if you're good in education, you may not be doing so well in sports. Though I personally, as a psychologist, do not agree with that, but I would like your opinion that how you see me working in that space directly.
Very important and very critical because I think you need to be extremely knowledgeable to be a sportsman. So that actually changes the entire orientation towards what people think of sportsmen. A boxer is not all muscle.
Right.
It's a lot of eye-hand coordination, a second decision, its ability to remember the moves, its ability to remember strengths, weaknesses of the opponents. Honestly, it's actually education in itself.
Right.
In COVID-19, I think the sportsmen are better off coping than it is us as very skillful and knowledgeable
Right.
individuals.
Right.
So my advice to parents is that it's not one or the other.
Right.
There's a complete balance that's possible. But yes, it requires a little more commitment and a little more effort, which is why the children need to be sleeping better, eating better. More importantly, therefore, the curriculum in school needs to be managed also. Careers, I know whether it was Rahul Dravid, he was actually studying to do his master's.
Right.
Lakshman, Zach was an engineer. Ajit would have been an engineer himself. So these are
Right.
all very, very intelligent people, and these are people who've been very successful thanks to education. So it's education. Amitabh, it's very interesting when I Andre Agassi
Right.
talk about when he was doing Square Panda, in India. He's the owner of Square Panda, which is kind of an e-tablet.
Right.
They asked him, but how come a sportsman is getting into education? He said, what? Only 11 that in your country will play for India. There's only one person. Individual sport, there's only one.
Right.
I have friends who didn't make it in the top 100.
Okay.
And the only thing then important was education. So if you don't make it in one space, at least you can bank on something else. So education gives you the ability to scale
Right.
up and adjust and adapt. So education is the foundation. Amitabh, I'm just going to, I think there's a little bit of glare coming. If you can hold on for a
Perfect,
minute.
perfect, absolutely fine. Friends, Fatima has just now emphasized a very important point. That when we talk about sports versus education, as her perspective is what I always believe in, is that it's not about this is better or that is better. There has to be a balance, and sports is not about. It's not just about physique. It's also about intellect, and education gives you that intellect, the reason and the logic that helps you build your sporting skills to a higher level. And even if you look at, there are so many players names that she has been giving uh, in the cricketing fraternity that who have been very good in education, and probably those were the reasons also they got visible, and they made a niche for themselves. If we go by their biographies, we learn a lot. In fact, I always felt Rahul Dravid was in, of course, the ball for Indian cricket has been quite a celebrity, of course, captained the team as well. I always felt that he was better with his intellect that made him an extraordinary cricket. Than just the cricketing skills. And whatever I've read about him, he's been a voracious reader, and he was always honing his intellect along with his cricketing practice, and that's why he always played to his strengths, did not allow the opposition to know his weakness.
Yeah. No, and I think we need to recognize that sports, creative arts, theater, drama, these are the industries, Amitabh, of the future.
Right.
Your traditional industries, I'm sorry to say, but there is a Watson app today
Right.
that's giving you 95% accuracy as far as your diagnosis of certain symptoms are concerned. I have a brother who's
Yeah.
actually doing a lot of work, Dr. Mufazzal Lakrawala, doing a lot of setting up these COVID-19 centers in Mumbai.
Right.
And I always joke with your industry is going to become redundant. It's going to be these sportsmen or creative artists that are going to do well. But I think we need to, Amitabh has mentioned recognize that sport is not, dumb people. Sport is actually the most intelligent people going out there. Likewise for creative artists. I mean, it's unbelievable their balance that they
Right.
bring. Musicians, dancers, technical people.
Right.
Today, IT people are the most weird.
Right.
Suddenly they've gone up in the order. I think we need to recognize that, and I think we need to know that our children are not like us. So we need more options for them
We
and
need
more
more options.
science for them as
And
well.
as you quite rightly said, that sport, theater, and all, it is not, it's a very, it's a misnomer that people have. It is that it does not require intellect. You just get into it and do it. And as you quite rightly point, even in my nephew who's into film direction and has been part of some of the major movies. Productions. Of course, he's not the issue for discussion at the moment. But then, when about a few months back, I visited his place, and so his wife was saying, "Mama, I'm very jealous of my husband." That I said, "Why?" But, he reads so much, and then when he got into filmmaking and all, that's when I realized filmmaking is not just about acting; it is about doing a lot of research. There's a lot of homework. These theater artists need to get into a lot of what you call as workshops to get into. I'm sure the sport is similar kind of thing. There's a lot of training, a lot of workshop, a lot of intellectual sessions are there.
Yeah. No, Amitabh, and one of the other things people don't recognize is you only see a product on TV.
Right.
You only see that bit.
Absolutely.
Please understand, you're a psychologist,
Right.
you're a psychiatrist, you know, it's so much conditioning. You could have had a fight with your mother, sister, wife. You're on the field. You might have got a personal tragedy. You have to
Right.
leave that behind. There are social skills, protocols. You're playing for the team. You
Right.
don't get along with someone. There is so much science behind it. There's so much psychology. I think it's actually, these guys are superheroes,
Ab-
especially individual sports.
Absolutely.
Like tennis and badminton, that's huge pressure, and to be able to cope.
There have been so many examples of mental toughness in sport. Be it Sachin Tendulkar losing his father during one of the World Cup games, be it Anil Kumble having his
Or
fracture of
Virat.
his cranial,
Yeah.
or Virat. There's so many such experiences are there. So, friends, when we talk about sports, as Fatima points out, it is not a arena where you think you don't need to hone your intellect. Education is important because that gives you the reason and the logic. That is an instrument that can help you become an even better sports person as well. And I would like to add to it, as we are talking about being an entrepreneur. Sports is a young profession, and the successful people also, every good thing comes to an end. So every player comes to a point when sporting career comes to an end. That's where your intellect begins to help you, that how to take it forward and take on and work. So blending education and sports is very, very important for all of us. We have here one of the comment I can see, Anjali Rajdanji. She was a guest on our platform, and I think she was also in one of the other platforms with you in one of the webinars. She is writing, "It's a pleasure to watch Fatima ji on yet another forum, chatting with Amitabh ji, my favorite master counselor and educationist in a new avatar. Have watched you earlier on your inputs in education, which I shared to uh, professionally loved it." There is a DP
Thank you.
Vishnu who is saying that children are experiencing extensive changes in daily routine during this global crisis. Madam, what can be done to protect our children from distress? So you have been interacting. I've been interacting with a lot of parents, and I think there's a issue that how parents can help children. And before you take up your response, I would just add a few perspective, Fatima. We have been getting calls at odd hours. We are even, these days we are working from home, so schedules and appointments are almost 24 hours, depending on where the person's calling. Some of the very interesting questions have come up that my child, just a few days back, this was a query which has come, that my child suddenly wakes up from sleep, goes up sleep, within 10 minutes gets up saying corona, and then after that he's unable to get back to sleep. There are so many such anxiety proneness calls have been coming to us for therapy and counseling online sessions that we've been doing. And I think this particular question by DP Vishnu is children are experiencing extensive changes in the daily routine during this global crisis, and they're also daily routine shift as well as the stress and anxiety. So what is your take, that what can be done and why is it happening?
Yeah. So there are two questions in that one question, really. It's going to be important to recognize that because we are in lockdown and we are in the the confines of our four walls, everything we say is going to be subconsciously registered, whether you're saying it to your child or to your spouse or your in-laws, etc. So parents, you'll have to be very mindful of how much television is also being aired when you're eating, just sitting, etc. Because the anxiety levels are really coming. Children are only listening to part of the conversation and it's registered. Basically, there's a spike in Mumbai cases. Not recognized, there's a spike in Mumbai cases because there's more testing. That's a good thing, but look how many people have recovered. So only part conversation is taken, and of course they're worried, which is why parents, my advice is television is for adults. When it's news, it's for adults. For children, you will have to screen that off. You may, you have to educate them, and it's 3, 4, 5 year olds. You will still have to tell them what's going on, because being under lockdown means there's a problem.
Right.
It's not normal for all of us to be confined to our homes. So you'll have to talk to them about the fact that it is flu-like. It is a
Right.
little more severe than flu, but you don't have to get into the fact that there is no cure, we will all die, it's a pandemic, it happened 100 years ago, we never, they didn't survive then, we won't, second wave is happening. You are leading to your child's anxiety.
Right.
The reason the children are reacting is because all this information has not been clarified.
Right.
So do tell them it's there. Science is working on it. You've seen Israel yesterday. Today, Italy is claiming something. It is going to cure. I think that's the way of evolution. We're going to be a little quicker than we were 100 years ago. Give them that positivity. Therefore, be careful. We're in at home. We are safe. We're washing our hands, hygiene, eating, resting, sleeping. Calm them down. Even if you have panicked, even if you know your neighbor has tested positive, you take the burden, not pass it over children. This is where Amitabh's getting this call because the communication isn't there. You don't have to give, they're not doing a PhD on corona. Please don't make them write about their feelings, because that is scary. Now, what are they going to write? I'm scared. I think I'm going to die. My mother's going to die. My father's going to die. You're telling them, please, I do not believe in these time capsules. This is something we are facing. We will face it for the next 24 months. So it's not only about today, it's about tomorrow. So first, calm down.
Right.
Try to normalize as far as possible. Eat, sleep, eat frequently. I'm not saying eat together. If you've never eaten together, suddenly all 3 meals together, you all don't know what to say. Don't make it abnormal.
Right.
Just try it. One meal a day, great. Let's be realistic. Now, you are not taking these pictures and putting it up on Instagram and saying, I have the perfect life. I am very happy to say I don't. We
Absolutely.
three of us are in different rooms because we need our sanity. It's okay.
Right.
COVID-19 has not told us everything is together that way
Right.
now. Being in it together is coping. So please be realistic. Now, the stress that kids have about the pressure of being online, I think that's another
That's
question that's
another
come up.
question which is there.
There's temptation. There's temptation, Amitabh. You and I know we're getting all this. How to offer screen time. This is where you can show them the after effects and consequences of addiction, which is on screen addiction. This I'm okay, show them sensitivity. Let them be scared how much they are getting on. Let them be scared about what's happened in Delhi.
Right.
That's on, where boys are into rooms and deciding what to do.
Right.
That's not on. Make sure you scare them that there are cyber experts watching. You will be picked up, like how admins and forwards are going to be penalized. This is penalizable. This is addiction. You will have to go through therapy. It means you losing your privileges. All of this, scare them. Do not scare them about no vaccination to be found. What is ideal screen time? Please, parents, recognize today it might just be a little more.
It might
And
just
a
be.
little more is okay because we all have to keep our sanity together. And Amitabh, you're the boss in
I know
this.
that's
You're the one with the
right.
psychology. My plea is, we're trying to be superhumans and we are not. I reserve that for doctors and all those people in law making those decisions for us to keep us in lockdown.
Absolutely.
We can only do what we can. They need to chat with their friends. So don't keep saying, what are you doing? Who are you talking to? There's a way of asking. There's a way of talking. You will have to communicate, you will have to be patient, and this is easier when they're under it. Amitabh and I have big problems. We have teenagers.
Absolutely.
And anything beyond teenagers, it's a difficult.
Absolutely.
You're going to have to find ways to communicate. I have a simple thing. My son is allowed to tell me, Mama, you're bordering on now irritating. He's allowed to say that to me. Because sometimes I get, did you brush your teeth? Did you wash up? Then you have to do homework. Remember, you have to do this. He's saying, yang, 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 yang. That's all I hear you say. You never ask me anything that I want to tell you.
And
something to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead.
So this gaming addiction that you are it, please understand that Fortnite or Minecraft, a lot of educational aspect to it as well. They're probably learning a lot more than they are on those online classes that their school is making them go through, and that I'm telling you. You know why? Because it is to a context for them. I'm not saying 24 hours gaming, but give children 2 hours. Say, okay, I'm going to do 2, but after 2 hours, what can you give me? I want fitness. I want some amount of reading. I want you to help with household chores. I want you to help out with, some errands that I have. Why don't you make routines for them? My golden rule is 20 minutes on screen, 20 minutes off. Tough to do, middle school listen to, get into a discussion and a negotiation with them. Tell them, you give me your wish list. Let me see what I can do best. Negotiate with them. But please understand, lockdown times, there will be a little more screen time.
Absolutely.
How much are you on screen? Sorry to say, you're on screen
Absolutely.
10 hours.
We all are on screen right now. Right?
But Amitabh, technology has also evolved. It's not the glare that it was years ago. Most products today are anti-glare. We're forgetting those things.
We have evolved, and technology has become much better. And few points that you have said, I think, in response to these queries, beautifully pointed out. Friends, Fatima says from her experience as a mother and as well as a professional, that it is important to not, we need to be calm. Because and allow me to put it in an MKF, Fatima. MKF is Mohan ka funda that a lot of people recognize and identify with, and it is the MKF that Fatima also endorses just now when she talked about, is calmness begets calmness. There's no point in us being anxious and transferring that anxiety on the child. Regarding routine, I think what Fatima has beautifully emphasized with her narration, that we all have to, first we need to get routine. And if it's not just about the child's routine. Is our routine the same? Are we following the same schedule? So let us first get certain methods in place for ourselves. Children will automatically start falling in place for the same. So beautifully shared by Fatima. Friends, here when we are talking about children routine, she also said these are different times. So the rules and the arguments about how much time, or what is right or what is wrong that were there pre-lockdown times, there may be some grace that we have to be mentally prepared with. And one very important point I would like to emphasize, what she is just now in her conversation, she has pointed out, friends, for all of us to understand that lockdown, when we are within our house, it has not pushed and pulled us compulsorily that 24/7 you have to be in the same room. You need to respect the personal space of each individual. And I would like to quote from the Prophet by Khalil Gibran, where he has written beautiful lines: "Let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the wing of heaven dance in between." And I think that Fatima was beautifully sharing as her experience. The three members in the family, it's okay if three of them are in the three rooms and involved constructively with some of the agenda which is there. And friends, regarding scheduling and the routine, it's not about how much the child is doing. how much is the screen time. Important is there is a negotiation, there is a start time and the end time. And the child ends at the schedule and agreed upon time, and that is going to help you get the right habits in the child. And as she said, that have everything planned and the scheduled as an agenda, you will have much better situation. We have a question from Avnish Mohan that a lot of online games being pushed also have been made lucrative. How good or bad these are? I think you've already addressed this query while you were talking about is Chanchal Bhargava.
So, Amitabh, I just want to add to that. You know what happened, Amitabh, is the beauty of COVID-19. And like you, I'm positive. I believe there are lots of positives that have come out of it. One of them has been this whole empathetic wave. Every earth salt is out there communicating, sharing, collaborating, putting a lot of free stuff out there.
Absolutely.
Parents actually feel the pressure of going to NASA, go to the online safari, watching Russian theater, museums and Broadway.
Right.
If you've never done it, you can't put it together. And then there is this child's need, this is your need to push this out to the child because it's available, it's free. Hello, beta. वापस पता नहीं chance मिलेगा कि नहीं, हम जा पाएंगे कि नहीं, right? And then you have the child who doesn't care about the safari, he just wants to game. And there's a new game, and there's a new game.
Right.
Coders are pushing more products out there. But if you have a schedule in place, you have a negotiation in place, as long as within the 2 hours the child is experimenting, of course, I am a watchdog. I check my child's history. I need to know which game, however old you are. If you are in my house, you need to tell me because I'm responsible for you as the adult. If something happens, it's on my watch. So you tell me, or I'll snoop and find out. I don't check my son's Snapchat or whatever it is, Insta chat, but he tells me where he's on, which is important.
Absolutely.
So even with game, there are lots of sites. So there are cyber experts that will also rate certain programs. So PUBG is come under a lot of manipulation. So avoid that. But there are games that are educational and relevant, and you may want to explore them. So just quickly Google cyber expert recommendation. You'll have appropriate games.
I think Avnish Mohan has an extension of his question as well. As a parent, what controls should we have in kids? What is your take on that?
You know what? It's our children are not like we were when our parents brought us up. My mother would say, "Sit down," and I would. Yet I didn't agree that I should be seated. This generation has grown up with us telling them, "Ask."
Right.
It's your opinion. It's your right. After you've given them all of this, then you can't take it away.
Right.
So your relationship with your child is you are still the parent.
Right.
You are still the guardian. You are still responsible for safety and security and how your child behaves.
Right.
Therefore, there is the good cop and bad cop.
Absolutely.
Now, in my mind, the bad cop is non-negotiable, which is you cannot abuse, you cannot be drinking, you cannot be disrespectful. These are non-negotiable. What is negotiable? I don't feel like eating bhindi ka bhaji.
Right.
Okay, why don't you go to the kitchen and figure out whatever you want to make, but you make. Don't eat what I've made, but you go and figure it out. Pass it on to him. He'll come back and eat the bhindi. And I've done it.
Right.
Oh, there's nobody else to do it? No.
Right.
Go ahead. So be the parent, be the one who's rational.
Right.
Figure out negotiables, non-negotiables. Okay, simply put, life-threatening, non-life.
Non-life-threatening. Yeah.
If he's sleeping, you want him to sleep at 8 o'clock, he wants to sleep at 9 o'clock. Is it like? No. But if he's sleeping at 2 o'clock, that is detrimental. So no negotiate on. Parents, please, on one hand, you say, talk to me, I'm open, but then you're judging. As soon as the child has told you, I did this, how did you do it? What did I do? I raised you well. I mean, he's never tell you, or she's never going to tell you.
Right.
So let them talk. Don't judgmental. Very tough. Very tough. I also want the perfect child. I also know I'm not perfect, and nor is my child. make peace with that. I think Amitabh started his conversation with that.
I would,
Be patient.
and as you quite rightly said, no, I want a perfect child. You want a perfect child, and let me tell you, the child that you have is the perfect one for your life. And we all have, my child, my son, my daughter is the best one because that's a blessing of God that we have. And you quite rightly said that let us not live the paradox. On one side, we tell the child that you can talk to me, you can share it with me, be frank, कुछ भी कभी झूठ मत बोलना, गलती भी हो जाए तो हमको बता देना. But when the child actually shares, we stop being parent, we become the policeman. How did you do it? Why did we start getting into interrogation rather than saying, all right, don't worry, son, I'm with you, and in future this could be a better way to deal with the same situation. I think that pro-action would be very important. So Avnishji, I would like to say that it's not about the control that we exercise on the child. It is about the freedom and the pro-action that we as a parent can exercise on the child. And Avnish Mohan is my brother as well. So and if you have a psychologist brother, you can always talk to me if you need that. So, so yeah, he's a very involved parent himself, and works, has a teenage, two daughters who are both teenagers at the moment. So I'm sure that he has having a good time himself. A very celebrated RJ, as well as he has his own. He broadcasts like we have FM in India. He broadcasts in radios in the channel that goes in US in a similar kind of thing.
Wow.
So it's good to have my brother also interacting at the moment and putting up questions in the show. So there are a lot of known people, of course, they come in because we are on Facebook Live as well. So I think we have another question from Chanchal Bhargav. Uh, there we find children these days such in touch of these mobiles, which were before kept out of their reach, taking care of their eyes and the spondylitis problem as a psychological counselor, listening to many with the problem of eye and spondylitis. How shall they cope up? I think you have touched upon this bit. We've talked about gadgets being advanced. If you would like to add anything to this particular query.
Yeah, so I have been speaking to a lot of tech companies and a lot of manufacturing, units that are using electronic devices to try and understand what technology they're using, and of course they're mindful of the fact that they have to work with anti-glare. We are as an industry opposing too much screen time. They have, I mean, what I understand is it's down to 75% reduced, all the challenges that they had earlier. So that's one. It's available, it's there. Under lockdown, it's going to be enhanced. What can you do to actually take them away from it rather than prevent them from going? So, do you have activities for them? Can you give them
Very true. Very
time?
true.
Are you able to talk to them? Can you read to them? Can you sing to them? When you can't do all of that, you have to balance it out. Please understand, if you're telling them not to do it, what is the alternative? Because since the week of 19, you programmed them. They knew when they had to get up, when to go into the bus, when to go to school, when to go for tuitions, when to go for classes, when to eat, when to sleep. Right now, they have so much time they don't know. So either you train them to occupy themselves. I have been seeing beautiful pictures of children actually staring out of the window. I think that's education in itself. This is school. In that picture out, there's history, geography, social skills, language, everything. And also they're silent. They're watching.
They're watching.
And
Yes.
using the power of eyes to do something independently. Are we encouraging that? Have you ever thought, when I told this parent, very sweet mother, she said, Fatima, kya baat kar rahe ho?
Right.
Time pass karega खिड़की से क्या करेगा, क्या सीखेगा?
Right.
So your attitude also needs to change, that maybe the downtime involves this kind of stuff. I think we've had enough summers where I've stared at the ceiling aimlessly because there was nothing else to do. It was hot, couldn't go out to play, nobody came out. Mother was not interested in entertaining me. I was staring at the ceiling and kicking my brother.
Absolutely.
That's what we did.
That's what we did.
Our children don't know this because we never exposed them,
I
because
think
we were programmed.
it's a
So
good time
I
to
think
get.
we need to get away from the technology fixation.
You emphasize on a very important point in response to Chanchal Bhargav's question. Friends, it's not about stopping them from using technology or the screen time. It is not about don'ts. It is about do's. We are telling the child not to go on the screen, but what is the alternative that you and I, as parents, have planned for them? Do we have some other interesting things that can take them away from the screen, and they say, "All right, mom is there." Playing hopscotch in the house these days, or there's some other old games or pillow fights that you talked about. That let's get back that relationship games where we used to connect physically with each other. We used to get emotionally involved with each other. Let's think of the do's for the child rather than the don'ts in these times. Because more we think of do's, we will get proactive. More we think of don'ts, we'll get reactive with the child. So beautifully said, we need to have, if not screen time, what parents need to plan. And
Amitabh, the beauty of what's available online is a lot of audio. So instead of audio visual, you shut the screen, let the children listen.
listen, absolutely.
There are so many things, but I think the brain that we have, and we don't need it to be an educator. You're just a well-meaning adult,
Right.
who knows that if this is not an option, what do we do next?
Absolutely.
We are facing it right now. We can't go out. Amitabh and I are talking online.
Right.
We can't online. We'll have voice notes tomorrow. We'll have podcasts.
Absolutely.
There are alternatives. We
There's
just
so many
need
ways to it. There's so many ways.
And there are enough webinars to give us ideas.
Absolutely. Now, we have another very interesting question from Kapil Agarwal. Hello, Sirji. Would like to ask Fatima ji about how we can make children focus on process in sports as a way to success without tinkering with their natural ability. I'm asking this because if we focus on one aspect, it's often found that the other part is compromised.
Oh yeah, this is extremely tricky. Therefore, it has to be handled by experts. Um, uh, you know, Please understand it is going to be the process.
Right.
But again, I'm going to say, because I'm a lover of sports, Chandra Paul, if you remember him, of course he's my time. He had an unusual batting stance, right? Now, if someone had corrected that, and he wasn't able to be comfortable with it, would he be as successful? Bumrah has an unusual action. It's actually led to a lot of success because of a physical, alignment.
Right.
There are many sportsmen. If it's about the natural ability, I know Ajit will say that. Don't tinker with that too much. But if there is a technical hitch that's eventually going to prevent the child from success, and there are enough instances for that, that's when an expert needs to come in and guide the child. You as a layman, I as a layman shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
This is where the experts are pushing the child to take on an alternative because they are showing them the path ahead with success. This is very, very sensitive. Like I said, I would never offer a parent or child, solutions if I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I haven't earned the degree. I do not have the techniques. I would rely on Amitabh to do that. So I think that's really important. Also, what happens is children by default believe that whatever they are doing is right. Therefore, it is about communication and getting the right people to tell them, great, it's working for you now, but have a shot at this. Try it for a few times and see if you're more comfortable, and see if it's eliminate some of your errors. It has to be handled very scientifically and very sensitively. Not saying, "Arey yaar, I told you no. If you do this, na ho jayega." Sorry, but you are not an expert, nor am I. He will want to listen to someone who's been there, done it, and achieved.
Absolutely. And I think beautifully said that we need to keep on communicating. Communication is important, and let the professionals do their job, because this is something which is sensitive, and someone who has done it and seen it and done it is someone who will be able to provide that adequate balance in a matter like this. Fatema, it's really interesting to talk to you, and it's already been an hour that we've been talking, and time is just and somewhere we have communicated to our viewers and listeners that I am seeing that there are a lot of questions are already coming up. Chanchal Bhargav has put in further query. Indrani Gua has put in her point and perspective, and we have a lot more coming in, but I think all good things have to come to an end. And trust me, this is one statement I'm making every time in every episode, because by the time we realize that we've just warmed up, it's already 1 hour to and it's
Wow.
So I would like to thank you for your presence and accepting to be part of our show, Fatema. It's really very, very encouraging. And friends, there's lots to life. There's lots to learn from each one of us. And people who have struggled through, worked on a concept, worked on an idea, it's always great to understand and learn from their life. And we were very privileged to have Fatema Agarkar with us there. Hope to have you again sometime, because the way queries are coming up now, I think we can go on and on. Maybe I'll have to invite one more time to take up some more queries of people on our show. So thank you so much, Fatema, for being in Ed Talks with Amitabh.
Thank you so much.
Friends, you have been sorry, Fatema, it's can you just say what you said towards the end? It got.
No, I was just going to say thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. I think there's a lot of synergy, the way you think, the way I think, and I think a lot of us need to be out there, reaching out to a lot more families, sharing our experiences. And thank you, COVID-19, for enabling this. And thank you, Amitabh, for actually bringing our world together.
Thank you so much. You've been very positive. Friends, it's been beautiful interacting with Fatema Agarkar, straight from Mumbai in the School Times studio. And she has been very forthcoming, candid, talking about her life and times experience on parenting, on edupreneurship, the difficulties, how her serial startups have taken her to a point when she and her husband Ajit Agarkar had to visualize to provide it a larger umbrella, which has culminated into formation of Agarkar Centre for Excellence. I hope you enjoyed our today's episode as well, like the love that you have given to our earlier episodes. हमने आपसे वायदा किया है कि जब तक लॉकडाउन है हम कोशिश करते रहेंगे every alternate day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4 o'clock, we are going to get an social influencer, educational influencer connecting with all of us, जिनके जीवन से हम लोग कुछ सीख सके. इस बीच में काफी चर्चाएं चल रही हैं, हम लोग बहुत सारे वर्कशॉप्स कर रहे हैं, ऑनलाइन क्लासरूम मैनेजमेंट की ट्रेनिंग्स दे रहे हैं. देयर आर सो मेनी वर्कशॉप दैट वी एज प्रोफेशनल्स आर डूइंग. इसी कड़ी में जब हम लोगों ने टीचर्स के साथ और पेरेंट्स के साथ इंटरेक्ट किया, तो वहां पे हमको ये रियलाइज हुआ वी आल्सो नीड टू गेट समवन who has been directly associated with online education and online teaching. And that is why, friends, we have reached out to Nisha Singh ji in Delhi, who is Deputy Director of IGNO's R&D cell, which is working on the technology, which is working on managing all the online processes and methods for Indira Gandhi National Open University's online processes. She's also been associated with one of the world's largest educational portal, that is Swayam Sanprabha. She is going to be with us on 8th, 4 p.m. Don't miss it. Tab tak ke liye, keep watching Ed Talks with Amitabh on the School Times. Thank you so much for being with us as always.